Is it coming out? Well, there we go. Looks like it's.
Alana here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Alana.
Okay, I'll go back to mute.
This works.
So Steve just saying he's having some connectivity issues as well. He's going to try to call the Zoom line, or if nothing else, then call the teleconference line there, Grant. I'll let you know.
Okay. Just a reminder, we are on YouTube now. So.
Okay, thank you. All right. Well, we can maybe just let Steve get on when he can. If we want to start recording, we can call to order eventually. And there we go. All right, so we can call to order at 7:03 p.m. We do have an addition to the agenda, item 8.5, which is the operational review and service delivery tender contract. Any other additions or changes to the agenda this evening? Seeing none, I'll look for a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Salatke, seconded by Councillor McBride. All in favor? So moved. Thank you. Declaration of conflict of interest or pecuniary interest. I understand Councillor Loreen is declaring on 8.2.
That's correct, yes.
Thank you. Any further conflict, Councillor Wainman? Which item?
The Eskimo Inn.
Oh, okay. So on 8.1. Thank you. So if there's no further declarations, we can move on to delegations, presentations, or petitions. We did on Monday night have the presentation to SAO Hood of the silver pin on behalf of the Canadian Association of Municipal Administrators for his 10 years of service. We have no further presentations this evening, so we can move on to public question period, which, as I understand, there are no submissions this evening.
I have none.
Okay, and it looks like maybe Councillor Barlock has just joined us.
Yeah, I am on. First time going over the phone.
All right. So with that, we'll move on to adoption of the minutes. Item 6.1, the minutes of the September 14th and 16th, 2020 council meeting. May I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor McBride, seconded by Councillor Wood. Questions, comments, or discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Yes.
Item 6.2, minutes of the September 10th, 2020 bylaw review committee meeting. I'll look for a mover, please. Councillor Salatke, and seconded by Deputy Mayor McDonald. Any questions, comments, or discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, with that, we'll call to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. On to item 6.3, the minutes of the September 22nd, 2020 Public Works Committee meeting. I'll look for a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Wood, seconded by Councillor McBride. Questions, comments, or discussion on the minutes? Again, seeing none, I'll call to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. On to the action items list. Were there any further questions, comments, or discussion on the list this evening? Seeing none. With that, we can move on to new business. Item 8.1, request for road closure. Councillor Wainman has declared conflict on this item. Councillor Wainman, if you can just turn your screen off. Okay. So item 8.1 is the request for road closure. We do have two recommendations before us. First is that we go with the one as written, with the hours being from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. From no more than 4 days consecutively, 2 of those days being a Saturday and Sunday, or we have the option to put different hours in on the daily closure. So before we make the recommendation, I guess I'll look to see if there are any changes requested or if we want to stick with the 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. closure. It looks like we'll want to stick with it. Nodding heads, yes.
I'm fine with sticking with it.
Okay. So recommendation then is that Inuvik Town Council hereby approves the closure of Mackenzie Road between the hours of 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. for removal of Eskimo Inn demolition debris for a period of no more than 4 consecutive days, with 2 of the days being Saturday and Sunday. I'll look for a mover, please.
I'll move.
Moved by Councillor McBride, seconded by Councillor Salatke. Any further questions or comments on this item this evening? Seeing and hearing none. So with that, we'll call to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. So moved. Councillor Wainman, if you want to come back on screen. In the meantime, we'll move to 8.2, the request for donation of space for the Kazuri Judo Club, and Councillor Loreen has declared conflict on this item.
Okay.
Councillor Loreen, if you could again mute and turn off your screen. Thank you. So, sorry. Again, we have some options before us. The first option would waive the user fees for the Midnight Sun Complex between the hours of 6 p.m. and 10 p.m. on Wednesdays, or between the hours of 2 p.m. and 6 p.m. on Sundays. Option 3A would be that Town Council waives the rental fee and we put in our own hours that could be used. Or option 3 is that we waive the rental fee and only allow the club to go ahead on the Sundays. So I will look to council to see which recommendation they'd like to move forward with. Councillor Salatke and then Councillor McBride.
So for this, one of the things I would recommend, I'm fine with whatever option the rest of council's interested in, but I think there also should be something in there about it will be reassessed after a certain date, that this isn't in perpetuity. This is because they cannot use the school gym. And so it's not, this will be free forever. This will be free and reassessed, say January, in the January council meeting or something along those lines. And that, because we probably will be asked by other people. And if we don't set a time limit, this could be forever.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Salatke. Councillor McBride?
I agree with what Councillor Selecti has said regarding the fact that we need to put a date for review on there. But I really feel that it is a good idea. And this is, what we're really trying to do is trying to help the youth of our community and help them do this. And as a no charge item for any of the students attending, it's a benefit to the kids. And I think that's what we're all about anyways, to help the kids out a bit.
Councillor Miro, did you have something to add?
No, I don't.
Okay, thank you. So with that, SEO Hood, I guess I'll ask you, does the timeline review need to go into the motion itself? Or is that a direction that council can give to administration?
I think it would be preferable that you add at the end that this arrangement will be reviewed at the end of December. Put it actually in the motion, then you have a physical record of it, and then that actually forces us to do it, so to speak.
Okay.
One other thing, if I may, just an update on some information regarding, just so council is aware, we talked about precedents and stuff like that, but Girl Guides have now come to, they've asked for use of the hall, but they have found alternate funding and will be paying the reduced rate, and they're grateful to council for doing that as far as adjusting the fees just for the youth activities.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Wood?
And they are, sorry, and they
Oh,
are
sorry.
aware that there may be nights, because they're looking at Monday nights. So everybody wants the same nights as we were looking at, so.
Yeah, I have a few issues with this, one of which Grant just mentioned. We're setting a precedent here. What do we tell the next group that comes along and wants something for free? Do we say no? I mean, fair is fair. The second issue I have, this is not just children. It's adults and children. Therefore, we can't say it's strictly for the youth. Youth, I might change my mind. But we've already reduced the fees for this type of thing. So I really have an issue supporting this the way it is. I just can't see giving this away for free. If it involves some more fundraising on behalf of the judo club, then so be it. I mean, I support the club, but I also have to look at the town finances and precedent setting here. That's all I have.
Thank you. Anything further from council at this time?
If I may just speak to the point as well.
Councillor Bartlett, go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, I understand where Councillor Wood's coming from. I like the idea of putting in a review timeline in here. I would just speak to Councillor Wood's point that this is basically an extraordinary circumstance based on the situation we're in now. And I think that's how I'm viewing it. This isn't something that's going to come up all the time. And once we're out of COVID restrictions, we have no reason to give anybody a free ride under the same pretense that we're thinking about doing it right now. So I would tend to favor the motion, even though it has adults. I think it was stated that there was going to be no charge for anybody, if I remember correctly, at this point in time. And I think if we do review it at the end of December, we may go back on it at that point, because maybe by then judo will have found alternate arrangements available and we can move to a different system at that point. So I like the timeline after 3 months to have a look at it again. And again, I'm looking at this largely as an extraordinary circumstance. I don't think it's going to be a regular thing myself, but I think the judo club would prefer to be at the school, as a lot of other people would be as well, but they can't get in there right now to do what they need to do. So I'll be in support of option 2 with the addition of the timeline suggested.
Okay, thank you. Anything further from council?
Yeah, Councillor Miro here.
Go ahead, Councillor Miro, and then Councillor Salaki.
Thank you. I too agree with the timeline. I'm a little bit concerned about this including adults, because we did have a group that involved adults that were doing an exercise program over at the school gym that are now having to pay to be in the rec center. So I'm not really seeing a difference if there's adults involved, even if it's adults paying the fee. I think adults can afford that. I understand youth maybe can't, but I don't see a reason why adults couldn't contribute.
I think that maybe one thing Ed did mention on Monday night was that that he could see asking adults to pay. I may be wrong there, but I thought that was one of the points that he did make, that if it was that he would look to ask adults to pay. But if you guys didn't hear that, maybe I heard it incorrectly. Councillor Salatki, you had a comment or question?
My comment was very similar to what Councillor Miro said. In the past, the kayak club, other places have had to use the facility where they've paid a drop-in fee directly to the facility, even if the class was free. So I would say that we also include that if you're an adult, there is a drop-in fee to use the space, even if it's a reduction. But also we do want more people to be using the rec center. So this could be an introduction to groups to see how good it is to use the space in the future, and perhaps come up with a way to make sure that facility is being used more. But I do think there should be something in place where, yes, when it's the youth classes, they're free because they of these special conditions, but there should be no reason why, as mentioned, that adults can't pay a couple dollar drop-in fee.
I think in this scenario, we would leave it up to the judo club to charge the adults. I don't like the rec center's not looking to add another layer of administration into what's happening in this situation. But I mean, that we put the onus of that onto the judo club. That I mean, I think from what I'm hearing right now, that if we move forward with the $25 charge at some point, then they will be expected to find that money. And again, going back, that this will be basically a 3-month situation and to be reassessed before programming were to start in the 2021 year. Is there any further questions or comments? We will have an opportunity again to speak to it after we get the recommendation on the table. So if everyone's okay.
Councilor Miro again.
Oh yeah, go
No, I
ahead,
was just
Councilor
gonna
Miro.
say, at $25 a session, that is very little for a couple of adults to split the cost at. And I too am concerned that if we do this for free, we're going to have a lot of free requests, and at some point then we're having to draw a line and say no. And I don't think $25 an hour is at all excessive.
Sorry if I may interrupt, SAO Hood. Yeah, I just want to, with the $25, remind council that it's $25 an hour. It's not $25 for the full session, just so that you're aware.
And how many hours are they asking for at a time?
2 sessions of 8 hours, 2 sessions of 4 hours each.
Per week.
So it adds up to $1,000 a month pretty quickly, which is a pretty high overhead cost for a club like that. And some of the other recreational programs that have involved adults using the school, they should have been paying at that point because they're not school programs. So those already had a model of payment for participants in those, as far as I would be aware. Because in order to get the free access to the gym, you basically have to be a school team, and you have only certain hours you can do it in. And anyone outside those hours are paying users.
That's right.
So
Deputy Mayor
after 7 o'clock, you're paying.
Sorry, Steve, can you just say that again? You're cutting in and out.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying, at the school, basically, if you're doing anything after 7 p.m., you're a paying user at that point, and anything on the weekends. That's not school related.
Yeah.
So those already have a payment model for participants in those classes and stuff, in those groups.
Yes.
So this is something different for judo, that it's not part of their operational model currently to have that overhead cost. Whereas the other groups who may be accessing the school do have that already built into their program and the way they operate.
Yes, that's right.
That's a bit different.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor McDonald?
So one of my questions that I brought up on, stand by. One of the questions, sorry about that. One of the questions I brought up on Monday, which I think does merit some thought before we vote on this. When other organizations come to us that are clubs that utilize the ice rink surface, such as hockey, speed skating, figure skating, that pay $60 plus an hour, plus GST, and they utilize for 2 or 3 hours or 4 hours at a time, are we prepared as council to reduce their fees to zero to stay in line with what we're going to do for the judo club? And I think it's a very fair question, because their excuse coming forward will be that they can't do the normal fundraising that they do due to COVID, with the bingos being shut down. Bingos bring in a significant amount of money to these organizations so they can keep their overhead low to be able to afford our rates to use our facility. But if we say to the judo club, it's free until Christmas, are we prepared to do the same thing for the other clubs utilizing the ice surface or the curling rink? I think that's something that we need to discuss here first prior to voting on this.
Okay, thank you. Is there any comments to follow up that? I'm seeing none. Oh, Councillor Salaki, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to eat dinner before fire practice. I completely understand what Deputy Mayor McDonald is saying. The only difference is the ice that needs to be taken care of, the staff that are going to have to work in the rink and in the curling club won't change this year. Whereas having people utilize the gym floor where someone's just opening a door is going to cost us nothing. And so I would recommend that in the next 3 months, we kind of monitor. There was a situation before where Great Northern Arts Festival was asking to use space for free, and they were made to show their financials and that they actually weren't benefiting. They weren't able to pay for this. I had some concerns about them not being an actual society, which means we don't know what their financial situation is or if they have these records. So maybe this could be a stipulation that if you want to use our space and you want it for free, it's the same as other groups that have had this done as a donation, where we see for a fact you're not charging the adults like you have said. We're taking their word at it, which I'm not saying they're lying, but it's good to check. So it might be something that in 3 months, if they are bringing in cash and they can afford it, sure, we make a change, but they're not really causing us any work. This is an open door. They put down their mats. They do all the things. Ice and curling rink are very different situations.
Thank you, Councillor Slotky. Any further comments or questions at this time? Deputy Mayor McDonald, go ahead.
So contradicting my previous statements, the town is in a very unique situation here. And so we all are with COVID. And perhaps it's incumbent upon us as the community leaders in recreation and having the facilities for people to use, that we make it work. So we take a page out of the book where we find the financing to help offset this with the federal funding. We have staff that are very capable of finding extra money for government grant programs. And we make it more accessible this year for those requiring the use of the facilities. There's not going to be a lot to do here. The pool is still closed. There's no travel that's happening. So kids aren't traveling in and out by air like they normally do. So we're pretty tied down to Inuvik right now with not a lot of options and choices. So I certainly, because of a few dollars a month, do not want to limit a youth organization from being able to access a facility to unwind, learn something in a constructive way, and exercise. So although I'm contradicting my previous statements, I think we do need to find a way here as a group to make everything work for all organizations, not just judo.
Okay, thank you. If there's nothing further, we will get the recommendation on the table. So recommendation, oh, Councillor McBride, sorry, did you have something to add?
I was going to make the motion with the amendments to it, if you like.
Oh, okay.
If for option 2.
I was going to motion option 2 that the Inuvik Town Council hereby waives the rental fee for the use of the Midnight Sun Complex Community Hall by the Kazuku Judo Club between hours 6 and 10 on Wednesday and between the hours of 2 and 6 p.m. Sunday. This decision to be revisited the first meeting in January of 2021, and that the adults above 19 years old have to pay a drop-in fee for the facility.
Okay, I don't think the drop-in fee is something that we put in there. I think that's up to the club. That's adding an administrative layer that, as of right now, as far as we understand, the club doesn't have. I don't know. I'll let council speak to that though, if you want that in the recommendation.
And it's the drop-in fee for the was it gym boss or whatever it is. You just pay the till when you walk in, don't you?
Yeah, so what happens is they pay the $6 when they walk in. Half goes to the MSC to cover any staffing, building, whatever, and half goes to the fitness leader.
So that's based on what I heard. They wanted to see a drop-in fee, and so when the adult members for the judo club walk in, they could just pay the drop-in fee at the cash register, same as you do now. Was my recommendation.
Okay. Maybe SAO Hood can weigh in a little bit. I don't know if that's something that council can put onto this.
I think it would be a little difficult given the way with the health and that, and how they're looking at people coming in and going. It's not just one session. if I remember correctly, and what they're doing, they have 3 different classes, and I don't know if there's adults in each class. Who's authorized to be there, those kinds of things, because I think they have certain rules. Are you member of the club and stuff like that? From an administrative point of view, I think it would be a little difficult to try and administer.
And I'll withdraw that section from my motion.
Okay.
So the motion will be
I'll
option 2 with review in the first meeting in January.
Okay, thank you.
second the motion.
Thank you. Do you need me to reread the motion, or are we good there? Yes, reread it. So recommendation would be that Inuvik Town Council hereby waives the rental fee for use of the Midnight Sun Complex Community Hall by the Kazuri Judo Club between the hours of 6 p.m. and 10 p.m. on Wednesdays, and between the hours of 2 p.m. and 6 p.m. on Sundays, to be reviewed by council administration at the first set of January meetings of 2021. Is there any further conversation, Deputy Mayor McDonald?
I'm actually concerned about putting in times. And the reason I'm worried about times is if we need to move them, then will it be free if we move them to a different time slot? So if we don't put the times and we just specify hours, like a total amount of hours, is that's not like Wednesday nights?
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, please go ahead.
My understanding is that if there's a cancellation, it would just be canceled for that night. There wouldn't be a moving of them into a different time period or anything like that. It would just be a not happening on that evening.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood on Monday then. So thank you.
Right. So if there's nothing further, I don't see any raised hands. All right, we will call to a vote. I will look for all in favor.
Aye.
Yes.
6 and opposed. 1. So motion moves forward. Thank you. All right, Councillor Loreen, if you'd like to come back. And we can move on to item 8.3, the proposed fees and charges policy amendments for the solid waste disposal facility tipping fees. Recommendation here is that, Inuvik Town Council hereby adopts the amended fees and charges policy FM021 Schedule A as presented. I'll look for a mover, please. Councillor McBride.
I'll second.
Seconded by Councillor Barlock. And I'll open it up to discussion if there are any questions, comments, or discussion this evening. And I'm seeing none. So I'll call to a vote. Oh, Deputy Mayor McDonald.
I will say that I find it concerning that we have not spoke to the contractor at the landfill in regards to this. It does make a difference in regards to billing and the financials of another company. So is this not something that should be discussed prior to us voting on it? Because it was discussed at an admin meeting, of which I wasn't present. But at that point, should it have not gone at least a conversation prior to us voting on it here? Because we are changing an entire fee structure that is contracted.
My understanding from Monday night was that the amount of which that the contract was based on and bid on was actually on the day-to-day garbage pickup in town and the work that goes along with that at the solid waste site. And so things like this, which are basically in addition to that regular day-to-day garbage, would actually not really factor into a bid price. So would fall under the contract as part of where we have the ability to change a price. And SAO Hood, if you have anything to add.
No, I think that is the concise, and I'll also remind that with the contract, it is based on what you had said. And there is, again, I reiterate, there is no guarantee that anybody will get any tipping fees in a year, depending on what happens during the year. So they cannot be counted on actually from an operational point of view.
Okay. Is there anything further from council at this time? I'm seeing none, so we'll call to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
All right. I don't believe that leaves anyone to be opposed, but any opposed? Seeing none, so moved. Thank you. So we had 8.4 on the agenda from Monday night, the COVID-19 impact on the town. I don't believe there's anything more this evening on that item, but if there are any follow-up questions, I'm sure SAO Hood would be glad to answer them. Seeing none, so we'll move on to 8.5, the operational review and service delivery tender contract. This was an addition to the agenda, and the item went out to you in an email yesterday. Recommendation is that Inuvik Town Council hereby awards the Town of Inuvik organizational and service delivery review contract to Northways Consulting. And I'll look for a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Loreen, seconded by Councillor Wood. Are there any questions, comments, or discussion on this item? I am seeing none. So with that, we'll bring it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to seeing this get going. We've been talking about it for quite a while now, and it'll be an interesting report to see at the end, I believe. So with that, we'll move on to 9.1, our bylaws. SAO Hood, you'll have to remind me which of these are actually going back for review.
For council's information, there was some question on Monday night over a couple of the bylaws and some wording and some clarifications. We did reach out to our legal counsel just to get some clarifications because some of it did apply. What the council were unable to get the clarifications to us by today. So my recommendation is that items 9.3, 9.4, and 9.5 only be given first reading tonight. That will allow us to get it into the process. And then we can come back with, at the next set of meetings, with the proper, any amendments or clarifications properly. And then at that time, we can do second and third reading if council approves it that way.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. So with that, we can, oh, sorry, go ahead.
In short, I'm saying 9.1 and 9.2 can go first and second reading tonight. The other three, just first reading.
Okay, thank you. And 9.1 is actually third reading, so good times.
Okay.
Recommendation is that Inuvik Town Council hereby gives third and final reading to bylaw 2635 H&S 20, the solid waste collection bylaw as amended. Look for a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Wood, seconded by Councillor McBride. Are there any further questions, comments, or discussion on this item? I'm seeing none. So I will call to a vote. All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Thank you. On to item 9.2, the appointment of a director of finance. Recommendation number 1 is that Inuvik Town Council hereby gives first reading to bylaw 2654 APP 20, a bylaw to appoint a director of finance. I'll look for a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Loreen, seconded by Councillor McBride. Questions, comments, or discussion on the item? Seeing none, I'll call to a vote. All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
First reading moves. Recommendation number 2 is that Inuvik Town Council hereby gives second reading to bylaw 2654 APP 20, a bylaw to appoint a director of finance. I'll look for a mover, please. Moved by Councillor McBride, seconded by Councillor Wood. Questions or comments on the reading? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
So moved. All right, so 9.3 is the vacant and derelict properties bylaw. Recommendation is that Inuvik Town Council hereby gives first reading to bylaw 2655 PS 20, the vacant and derelict properties bylaw. Look for a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Salatke and seconded by Councillor Wood. Questions, comments, or discussion on the item? I am seeing none. We'll call to a vote. All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Thank you. And with that, we'll move to 9.4. Recommendation that Inuvik Town Council hereby gives first reading to bylaw 2656 HNS 20, the unsightly land and premises bylaw. We'll look for a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Loreen, seconded by Councillor Salatke. Questions, comments, or discussion on this item? Seeing none. All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Thank you. And item 9.5, the Water and Sewer Administration bylaw. Recommendation is that Inuvik Town Council hereby gives first reading to bylaw 2657 UTIL 20, the Water and Sewer Administration Management and Operations bylaw. I'll look for a mover, please. Moved by Councillor McBride, seconded by Councillor Salatke. Questions, comments, or discussion on this item? Seeing none. All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Thank you. Last, or not quite last, we did have the financial report. So Town Council hereby adopts the financial report as presented. I'll need a mover, please. Councillor McBride, seconded by Councillor Salatke. Any questions, comments, or discussion on the item? Sorry, Alana, did you want to say something?
No.
Okay. So we'll call to a vote. All in favor?
Yes.
Thank you. We did have the capital projects report under item 10.2. Are there any further questions or comments on the report? Seeing none. Under information items, we have just the strategic priorities chart. Or is there anything further under council concerns this evening? Seeing none. We do not have in cameras. Oh, sorry, Councillor Wood, did you have a council concern?
Yeah, sorry about that. Reviewing the town website, it's really good that we post an agenda for these meetings. However, in particular relating to bylaws, we don't post anything saying what we're reviewing, for example, tonight. So if I'm a member of the public, I have no idea what's contained in that bylaw until after it's passed, if I'm relying on the website or whatever. Since it's pretty hard to attend a meeting right now, I checked other jurisdictions as well. For example, Yellowknife does post this type of thing along with their agenda. So do a number of other towns. So I just wonder if we could have a look at that and maybe think of doing it, expanding that agenda to include information items that the public may or may not be interested in.
Okay, thank you. SAO Hood, any follow-up?
So if I understand correctly, Councillor, what you're basically looking at is that the package would be posted on the website.
Basically, yes.
Okay.
Obviously, if there's anything of a confidential nature, it wouldn't go in there, but just about everything we deal with is open to the public in any event.
Okay.
I think we're good
And one
there.
of the things we campaigned on was being open. So here's just another way to do it, and communication.
Yeah, I think that I thought the media package was posted online as well, but maybe it's like at a different timeline than but SAO Hood can look into it and get back to us and let us know how we can move forward on that for sure.
Typically, just so clarify, the media package usually goes out just before the meeting, like that. The Monday afternoon is typically when the media package goes out.
Councillor Salaki?
And sorry, does that just go out to a specific mailing list or does that actually get posted somewhere online? Because this has come up before that people just get the basic headlines and they would like a little more information. And I think that Councillor Wood is correct. We have said we'd like to be more transparent, and perhaps this would cut some of the problems of people coming to us after the fact of some of the decisions and would give us a little more insight.
We can certainly take a look at it. I don't see any reason it can't be done. I know that historically we haven't done it, and it wasn't done before I got here. But then again, we didn't have much of a website either. So,
Thanks, Grant.
All right, thank you. Anything further under council concerns? Seeing none. We do not have in camera tonight, so I will look for a motion to adjourn, please. Moved by Councillor Loreen. Thank you, everyone.